Makes sense. All right, I want to turn to predictions. Talking to Neil about kind of the future of Google Search, ChatGPT, maybe other LLMs. Again, from the seat of a paid search manager, kind of. I don't know. Again, maybe start general, and I'm sure we'll get more specific. But what do you think? And I think. I don't know about you. I think predicting 5 years from now is insane because who knows? But maybe kind of keep that window to end of 2026 or maybe the next 12 months. What's happening today that you think will make a big difference? We talked a little bit about agentic or agents starting to do the buying, but what do you think we'll look back at the end of 2026 and go, wow, that really moved a lot from kind of April, May?
Yeah. So if we stick to marketing related stuff. One with agents, I think you're going to start seeing a lot more from Microsoft and Google because they already have the corporate world. Like, just think about it. They're either on G Suite or Microsoft's Outlook right? Solutions with Word and Excel and all that kind of stuff. I was at a conference and someone was paying ChatGPT. This was a publicly traded company, a realty company. I believe it was like EXP Realty or something like that. And they wanted some modifications. And I believe ChatGPT or OpenAI said like, oh, we don't do this stuff unless you're paying at least $10 million a year. And then they're talking to Google about their potential solutions. They're like, yeah, why don't you use us? They're like, what's the cost? They're like, nothing. You already pay us. Your company's already on the G Suite. They're like, okay, but we're trying to get some modifications, done. And they're just like, what are they? And they're like, okay, no problem. They're like, so how much are these engineers going to cost? We're going to help us? Like, nothing. We'll just take care of it. That's what Google can do. Now, whether you think Google is a better or a worse product, there's a certain point, you're a CEO. Money saved is money saved. And if it solves your problems and it's good enough, you're usually going to go with the money saved. And I think where Microsoft and Google really have is they already have penetration into a corporate world. They're the best players to offer more stuff for free. And you're going to start seeing this a lot with the agent side. And I think a lot of organizations are just going to accept it. And because they're already integrated with it, they don't have to pay any more. And then eventually they'll start charging for some of these things and monetizing just like how Microsoft monetized Teams.
Yeah, no, I think what ChatGPT's done or what OpenAI has done is remarkable, but they've got such big disadvantages, right? One, they don't have massive cash flows already to fund all this
data centers. These other players already have tons of data centers, chips, the money.
The installed base.
They don't even need debt because they just print so much cash.
Right. Well, another prediction, I would answer this, yes. I'm very curious. 12 months, I think. I'd be willing to bet Gemini has more active monthly users than ChatGPT. What do you think?
I don't think in 12 months. I do think within like 24 to 36 months they will.
Interesting.
Gemini's growth is faster, but it hasn't been growing fast enough where they're going to, from the charts that I looked at, that they'll surpass them in 2026 or roughly within 12 months because we'd be bleeding into, start of Q2 of 2027. I think they'll get close, but with your prediction, I know you're not really saying 12 months. You're just saying in the near time future, they'll surpass. And I do agree with you that they'll eventually surpass. They also have the penetration of all the Android devices too.
Right. Right. And now they're the LLM of choice on Apple, right?
Yes.
That deal was, I think that
they can spend more money.
That deal was I think people realize it, but if OpenAI had been able to get that deal, like I think that's a really huge that Google beat out OpenAI in that. And that's part of the reason I say, at some point in the future, I'm pretty confident Gemini surpasses.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Again, total guess, I know to a certain extent, Gemini ads, or maybe you can speak to AI mode ads. Right, it's a bit different platform, but obviously very related. Do you think what do you think that looks like? If I'm a paid search manager, am I going to have to learn a whole? Is it now going to be yet I have to know Google, and now I need to know ChatGPT, and now I need to know Gemini?
In the long run, at least on the Google products, it'll all be consolidated. That's just my personal opinion. Why wouldn't they? They try to make it easier and easier.
So if I've got an AI Max campaign, I don't even have to worry about it. I'm going to show up in the Gemini, wherever the Gemini ads show up. I'm going to show up.
I think eventually, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Why would they want to create a new product? They would want to just take their existing users who spend money and make it easier for them to just automatically show up, because that creates more revenue for Google. And it makes it easier for the business, right? New product means, oh, now I got to convince these people to sign up for something new and pitch them. You would make less revenue, and it would be harder for, if you're Google, you'd make less revenue, and it would be harder for the businesses. So
interesting. All right, your advice, you couldn't afford $200,000 or $250,000 to get into the ChatGPT ads trial. You can't even afford the $50,000 that as of May 2026 could change. It takes. I did hear again that the ChatGPT person in charge of ChatGPT ads said, "Hey, we're going to open this up very shortly." So hopefully where they
have a partnership with Criteo.
Right, and and now it's, I don't know what the latest number is in terms of, a lot of advertisers in there. And like I said, we saw, I think in total, we've now seen both us and I think other folks who are watching, right, hundreds and hundreds of advertisers, probably over 1,000 now. Okay, so somebody hasn't dipped their toe in yet. What's your advice? Should you, and let's maybe give it, maybe not the enterprise, but smaller folks. I think your advice always with new stuff is dip your toe, try it as fast as possible.
Yes. Because that's typically where you get the best arbitrage opportunities, right? So again, this isn't specific to ChatGPT,
right?
But if a platform that has a lot of users releases advertising and you're earlier on, what happens to your costs per click or cost per CPA? It's typically less than compared to when you have 50 competitors or 100 competitors. So make your money while you can and test these platforms out early, especially if you're smaller. If you're larger, I definitely would test them as well. But if you're larger, you have the budgets to compete when things get more expensive. The smaller companies don't have as much time. And it doesn't mean the smaller companies can't make it work. They can still scale up and grow into large enterprises. We see that all the time. Google wasn't a big search engine when they first started. Now they're one of the biggest companies in the world. But what I'm getting with this is if you start early, it gives you more cash flow and profitability to invest and double down and grow your business.
All right. And then last prediction, and if you can't answer this question, let me know. End of 2026 or 12 months from now, do you think on ChatGPT you can still pay either a CPM campaign, a CPC campaign? We've seen maybe there could be a CPA campaign, or does it kind of consolidate where it's just, because I'll be honest, to me, that seems a little schizophrenic. I would think you would want one auction based on one metric. That to me seems how you wring the most money out of every advertiser, ad. Any thoughts on that, or are you able to say?
So you probably won't like the answer to the question, but ChatGPT has an amazing team. They're really smart people. If people in businesses see something, they're of course seeing it as well, and they'll figure out what works best for the users, and they will try to adapt and provide the best experience possible. I know it's not what you're looking for.
Fair enough. All right. Well, no, I appreciate it.